Gretchen. Gretchen Skelka, it's a pleasure to have you. We were just talking about opportunities to be more successful on LinkedIn. It always comes down to collaborating with people, working with people, because it's a people platform. But how do you collectively and collaboratively bring it together in a way that generates superior results? And what we were talking about prior is tagging. And Gretchen, what's your thoughts on tagging? And maybe introduce yourself a little bit before you get right into it.
No problem. Hi, my name is Gretchen Skalka. I'm a career strategist and leadership development coach, and I actually do that by specializing in creating customized personal systems based on thinking design to help my clients get to their goals. So, yeah, and tagging is something that I am really glad that you know about because I don't know that much about it on LinkedIn. I've seen two schools of thought. One that it is a good thing and that it should be done, and then I've seen people tag shame other people for tagging too many people. But I think that it's just a way to say hi. There's great content here you might want to look at. So I personally think it's a great thing, but I have seen two schools of thought. So I love that you've done your research on this and that you can help people kind of know more about it because I do think that there's not enough information about what it is and what the right way to do it is. Yeah.
Great starting point, Gretchen. And, that's why I align with Gretchen so well, because Gretchen has a great business background and really understands systems and how to create opportunities, that can propel somebody in a scalable manner,
Yeah.
right? That they can rely on the system over and over again to support them
Yes.
versus, doing a new system with a new project. And, it's just too distracting, if nothing else, and it doesn't work as well. So
Yes.
getting into tagging, there's nuance to everything on LinkedIn, and it gets richer the deeper you get. And if you can then cobble together the right energy, the right individuals in the right way, you are now going to amplify level the platform. And tagging is a perfect example, because on the surface side, it's inhibiting for the person doing it, because do they really want me to recognize them?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody does. But the bigger question is, do I expect them to do something for me now?
Sure.
Right? Is this an obligation that says you better like or comment or do something
Mm-hmm.
because I tagged you,
Right.
versus tagging someone? And my title is always recognizing supportive, collaborative connection, LinkedIn connections. So the idea is, here's my list of people I want to recognize.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my list of, okay, everybody go to work. But that's the message that goes out. The underlying message is the initial message. Is like, do you want to work together?
Yes.
Right? And what I learned, and I eventually got to, is if someone didn't respond in 3 days, they came off the list. So it was
Okay.
always active. And anybody who came on in the 3 days got on the list.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of curated by the individuals who wanted to participate or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once I got to the point where I had about 250 to 300 people that were really taggable, and LinkedIn at last count allows you about 180 tags in a 24-hour period.
Okay.
So I use about 100. I was using about 120, which gave me 60 left to re-tag them in a way in my
Mm-hmm.
response. So I didn't tag out,
Mm-hmm.
but I tagged out every day. It was just mere when, and then
Yeah.
I had to type people's names in instead of just
So
doing the
funny.
squiggly thing. So what I found, it just was volcanic. I used it to go from 5,000 connections to 25,000 connections in 4 months. And the way I did it is my banner was, we just hit 13,000, going for 14, and everybody would jump on the bandwagon.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just, because of the energy and the thoughtfulness of the group, it
Mm-hmm.
created an opportunity. But then people in the group, which was cool, because I couldn't keep tagging the same people. So I would just replace them, right? And put
Mm-hmm.
them back on the shelf. And then I get these emails like, what did I do wrong? Did I was so happy, because people were getting around 200 to 300 connection requests inbound just from being on the list.
Yeah.
Right? Because a very smart person would say, how's this person doing? And look at all the people he gave me.
Yeah.
Why not connect with all this 150? And all of a sudden it becomes let's say, a meeting grounds
Mm-hmm.
for people who are reciprocal. And reciprocity, I know it's not exactly how you say it, but I know everybody knows what I mean,
Yeah.
is really the key.
Yeah.
Like everything's a two-step. You take a step, I take a step, but nobody takes two steps, or they find somebody else to two-step with.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that fit into to your philosophy on LinkedIn?
I mean, it's interesting, and I see that Shan asked the question, are we talking about tagging? So
Oh yeah,
yes,
yeah,
very
yeah. Let
much.
me get the chat. I get so excited.
Yeah. No, very much we're
Love
talking
to
about
love to
that.
recognize people. Feel free just to even say what your name is and where you're from. Glad to meet you. Yeah, we're talking about tagging people.
Yeah, she's a fellow
Sure am.
coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that I think it's important to do that, and for a couple of reasons. One, LinkedIn is a platform built on social connection, and yes, it's a social platform, but it does operate a little bit differently than other ones. But the fact that it is built on the idea of social connection, then there's also a secondary school of thought of, like you were saying, intentional connection, being intentional about how you want to go about connecting with people, so that it doesn't become a numbers game. It becomes sort of a quality,
Mm-hmm.
relationship game, right? So I think that's very important. And like I was saying early on, I've seen two schools of thought, and I think that for LinkedIn, tagging people is very important. There's content here you might be interested in, or there's content here I know you're interested in because you and I have exchanged ideas on this content before. So I'm going to tag you so that it's easier for you to get to see this particular piece of content. So there's a give and take with tagging people. If I want somebody to really see what I'm doing, I'm going to be intentional about calling their attention to it by tagging them. I
Mm-hmm.
see no problem with that. And I think it's a great opportunity for other people. I personally like it when I get tagged because it takes me, like, it's a direct route to the content. I don't have to search for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can just go right there. So I think that's it. It's a sort of nicety that people do. I do know that, like I was saying, I have seen some people tag shame other people. Like, oh, why would you tag so many people, blah, blah, blah. But there are reasons for that too. If you've got some really good content, or you have an event you want to promote, or you've got something going on and you really want to cast a wide net, let people know, of course you're going to tag a lot of people. Like, we believe that we are providing a service. I do, yes, I do believe that. I do believe that it is helpful for other people to tag them in content. Now, understanding that if you're doing it in the right way, I'm not just going to go tag a bunch of random
Mm-hmm.
people, for the sake of adding names and clickable names to my content. That does nothing for either party. It's a disservice. But I think when, if I have something that I want to share, or if I, do a post about this, like I just had the greatest LinkedIn live with Don Cohen. Yeah, I'm going to tag Don. I'm going to tag you, Donald. Like, it's going to happen. And I might tag, Shan because she's in the comments. I might tag other people who I know have done lives with you, right? So, Jenny or Tara or any of those people that I know do lives with you, I might tag them too, or anybody who I know is doing a recurring live, because they
Mm-hmm.
may have valuable input, Chris Hennessy or Tanya Bugby or any of those kind of guys. I might do that because the more we're talking about something that we all have in common, it's something that unifies us. It's a social connection that we have. Why wouldn't we reach out and say, "Hey, we're talking about this thing, this interest that we share. Let's get in on this. Let's know what's going on." I just think that there's really, when it's done in the right way and for the right reasons, I just don't think there's a downside to it.
No, it's all upside. And if there is a downside, it's usually based on misunderstanding on
Mm,
the other person receiving it. And at the end of the day, just like so much on LinkedIn, it's about intention,
yeah.
right? If you start with intention, like here's what I'm doing, I'm recognizing you. It's my top 150 listed a day,
Yeah.
right? If I was to say here's 150 best barbecues in the US, everybody on the list would love to be there because I'm creating an audience
Yeah.
and sharing them with everybody. Now, if anybody says, I don't want to be there, to me, it's a regift. Because if I have 300 people I could tag and only 150 slots,
That's
I'm
a good way
actually
of putting
wanting the
it.
people who don't want to be there to free up the people who want to be there. And here's the key, Gretchen. And that's why I'm so impressed with your approach is who wants to be the band leader here?
Hmm.
Who wants to get people together? Who wants to organize? Who wants to create that environment where it's like if someone said build an orchestra and you said, okay, I need 3 violin players and 6 of these and 4 of those, right? Whatever it is.
Yep.
Once you got it together, now you're working huge leverage.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, when I do a post, and here's how it works, or anybody does a post, LinkedIn doesn't know how relevant it is.
Hmm.
So they show it to 10% of your audience and they wait. And if it doesn't go anywhere, that's where it ends up.
Hmm.
Because if your best 10 in a certain period of time don't do anything, why would they want to go to people like them? Because that's
Yeah.
how it expands. Well, when you tag people who actually know and love you, because if you've been doing it for a year and a half with someone, you're a trusted relationship, you're a good friend. And the comments I get from the people I tag are so kind. It's not like thanks for the mention. I get
Right.
that like almost all the time. But it's always like you do so much for so many and you're so kind and it makes you want to include them in the list
Yeah.
and they're getting better for it and they're looking for leaders.
Yeah. And
Not
I
everybody wants to be a leader. Go
yeah.
ahead.
And I have to say this because I know you tagged me the other day. So I want to apologize to anybody who may have tagged me in like the last 5 days because I was traveling to see my family and I don't do very much. When I'm on with my family, I'm with my family. So I don't do too much. I think I posted a couple things of Newman and whatnot, but I didn't respond to a whole lot of people because of that. I did do one live on Saturday, but it was the season finale of the Hotness Unleasher, and I've done several of those this year. But I generally don't. So there might be times when people don't see the tag or tag you back or say thank you for it. But generally speaking, most everybody I know, you're right, is very thoughtful about their response because it's a form of recognition. That somebody thought enough of you to tag you in the first place. It's kind of like that mindset where I know, and you probably know people who do this too. People who get invited to something, and again, there are a couple different schools there. People who get anything could be invited to a stamp collecting party or the biggest Christmas bash of the year. It doesn't matter. You got invited. Some people are like, yeah, I got invited. And some people are, even if they can't go, they're like super happy just to be invited. And then there are people who immediately are like, oh, I got invited. Now I got to redo this or reframe that or rearrange this. It's like, it shouldn't be a burden. The fact that somebody thought enough of you to include you in something, that's a good thing. So let's harness that little nugget right there. That's a good thing. What you do with it is up to you. But that somebody thought enough of you or knew enough about you to think of you, right? I have this going on. I want to tag this person because I know they're interested in this kind of content. They have a live coming up. They asked me a question about this very topic the other day. It also shows that you know that person enough to
Mhm.
tag them, and I think that's great. I love it when people do it for lives because there's no, if there is one, correct me, there's no like menu of like upcoming lives unless you're looking for something specific. I don't get in my news feed every live for the week broken down by day and time. LinkedIn, that would be awesome. you know
Mhm.
and sub segment that by interest, and I'm all about that. But I don't get anything like that. I don't know that there's anything like that available, so I love it when people tag me on those because then I can add it to my calendar. I know when it's happening. But other than that, outside of that, it's sort of a hunt and peck kind of thing. So going back to tagging, I like it when people tag me. I can't always go, and sometimes I try to let them know that I can't. Like, I know that Sandra had her Getting in Your Business on Thanksgiving Day, and I couldn't do that because I was going to be with my family, but I wanted to let her know, like, I love her show, but sometimes I can't be there because
Mhm.
the timing is right. Chris Berriman's another one. His Bring Humanity Together show is almost never at a time when I can participate in it. So I have to watch it, on the replay because I can't. So, but I love the fact that they let me know that it's happening. And I think that for anybody who isn't sure about whether they should or shouldn't, err on the side of should, right? Because
Mhm.
what, there's no, to me, there's no downside to tagging somebody. You're just saying, I'm inviting you to this piece of content, this, if it's a Carrie Chase and it's a funny joke or whatever it is. But I mean, it's just one of those. You're simply calling attention to somebody by recognizing them, by tagging them. That's a
Mhm.
good thing. And I also think, again, yes, it's a way to widen your network, sort of, embrace and strengthen your influence, and deepen the conversation while you're at it.
Well,
Yeah.
when you talk, while I'm listening, it's like any other group. It's like who's the leader, who's the members, what's the culture,
Hmm.
and is it something that I align and relate to? And if it is, you found your clan in a way,
Yeah.
right? You found a tribe on LinkedIn that just with 150 people
Yeah.
and with the ability to continue to optimize, right? Upgrade, remove people. People do everybody a favor when they're direct in their response.
Yeah.
There's a saying, give me a yes or a no, but don't put me in the purgatory of maybe,
Yeah.
because then I'm always like hanging out, but not, I could be
Yeah.
moving on or I could be doing something, but, if it is what it is, everybody's cool with it. And I think what people have to understand is what is your giving quotient? What
Hmm.
is your ability to give for how long without thinking I'm getting cheated, without thinking, hey, this hurts in some way, shape, or form. And if you are, you've got self-limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
right? That should reduce your goals. So if
Yeah.
you're going to live with those beliefs and work with them, don't get too excited about when you don't perform as well as you would like to. And
Yeah.
here's the thing about linked with tagging, it requires a response, right? And there's a saying again, some will, some won't. So what? It's a sorting opportunity. And the
Hmm.
faster it sorts, the better it sorts, because hopefully what you end up with is what you're looking for and who's looking for you. And
Yeah.
by tagging people, I found that there's so many good people who you really don't have enough interaction with because you're expecting too much to join forces with. But if you just tag somebody, that's an easy way to stay connected. And when someone, it's so rare. I mean, I did it for a year and a half every day, tagged 120 people. So, what I've also received is the ability to repurpose all this effort I had in the past, bring it back in a new energy pack, and plug it into a new LinkedIn Live,
Hmm.
right? And now you're doing two wonderful things that give you a competitive advantage. And
Yeah.
now if my show, and here's the numbers. I mean, I showed Gretchen, I was getting about 200 views or impressions, whatever it is. And just by tagging, it went to 900 and 1100
Yeah.
in its second day. And today, right after this is done, I'm going to tag 150 people. Gretchen will be one of them. And, what's going to be cool is everybody gets to play.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is when you're tagged and when you respond, you're showing up in that response for you. Right. So if and you're showing up in front of everybody that part of the 150.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to do with your response?
Yep.
I would add another line.
Maximize it. Absolutely.
Add one
Yeah.
more line or two more lines. First of all, you'll be the thickest. Second of all, you'll be the most comprehensive. Because here's what I found about a good reply. It should start with gratitude, right? The first thing should be thank you or I appreciate, whatever it is, because now you're showing intention.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Here's I want to get this out of the way first, right? Because it's primary.
Yeah.
Second thing is something about what they did. Watch the post, got this really great takeaway. No one else is going to share that, or you're going to be in rarefied company.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is, thanks so much. Love to be in the, in other words, show your intention.
Yeah.
Right? Love to be in the group. Thanks for tagging me. Look forward to your next post. And then what people can do, and it's maybe friendly competition, maybe they can share. You get 2 or 3 shares a day. If someone shares it, they're one of the 2 or 3, didn't cost them nothing.
Yeah.
Unless they're afraid of diluting their earlier post, which probably isn't knocking them dead yet. So, that's what I would do is how do you show up? How do you differentiate yourself? How do you show you put another level of thought into your messaging? Because what you do for them is going to be what you do for people like them.
Well, and it's also it's a window to you, right? So there, people who just give a thumbs up and go, or and that's nice. Thumbs up and go is good. Or the thumbs up and the great post kind of thing, it's also good. But that's like instead of the if you get thumbs up or any of the other reactions, and then you get again what you said, love this post, love that you shared, blah blah blah, or whatever it was, that's sort of a window into them, and another one of their interests. Jenny Holder is somebody that I reached out to months ago when I first opened the business because cold outreach was not something I could do. And she's really it's one of the things that she does. But I also knew that we were kind of kindred spirits because we both love dogs, and we each have dog, and I just adore her. I think she's very, very accessible. And so I reached out to her because I had gotten that window into her from some of her responses to other people that I watched. People are watching. They're reading what you have to say. They want to get to know you. So show more of yourself, more than just your thumb, on the little emoji, more than just a one-word answer. Show yourself. Let people know what you're about, because a lot of people rely on a post or something like that to sort of let everybody know what they're all about. Well, you can't do that. You're not going to download all of this into one post and have people go, I just read the book on Gretchen because she wrote a post today. No, never going to happen. That's not how it works. So it's little by little. Think of it like your personal drip campaign, right? You are telling people about yourself while you're getting to know them through comments, tags, your reactions to things, and your posts. But you need that whole recipe is what makes it work, and that's what I think a lot of people miss is they look at commenting and tagging other people as like a job or some laborious activity when it's not. It's really, I mean, like you said, I don't want to use the word selfish, but there's a real self-serving quality to doing it. And it's important if you want people to get to know you. And LinkedIn is a business platform. Everybody's either in business, doing business for somebody, wanting to start a business, looking to get into somebody else's business, there's nothing wrong with that. We do business with other human beings. So get to know people and help them rather get to know you through commenting, tagging, inviting them to get to know your content, all that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and the more you do, what you understand is you're harnessing the power of single events and including a lot of people. So in tagging, I'll bring 150 people to this LinkedIn Live as soon as it posts.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a great many of those will check it out.
Yeah.
Right? Because they probably haven't seen me live, or they just curious or whatever. I'll rate as far as if they watch a LinkedIn Live, I'll be in the mix. But what's said is 150 people are now joined with one post. If you looked at LinkedIn Live, this is broadcasting to over 150 people.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got 150 people who will take this post and open up their networks to you.
Yeah.
There'll be 150 people who watch the post and create, a wider reach.
Yeah.
And then after it posts, there'll be another audience. And that's and this will be evergreen forever.
Yeah.
Right? So people could watch this as long as it's up.
Yeah.
And all this takes place in 30 minutes. What else could you do in 30 minutes on LinkedIn?
That's
They
going to be
have
that impactful.
150 advocates promoting it when it's over, 150 people watching it.
Yeah.
And that's where the power is. Now compare it to what you're doing. Too many people judge what other people do instead of being introspective and saying, what am I really doing? And fast forward, where's the growth here?
Yep.
Where's the opportunity? And at a certain point, you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you decide today's the day. And all it has to do is one's ability to trust themselves,
Mm-hmm.
to look at something, to see something, to talk to somebody. And if they don't like it, they can go back in wherever they came from. But I've never been the person to ever go back when I've seen something new or better. I'm glad to get away from wherever I was and be with people who are doing stuff. I mean, if things aren't happening for you, get around people that they're happening with and be happy for them, support them, because everything comes around, goes around.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What you put out there is what you're going to get back. Yes. So you create, you are proactive, and your intent is everything, right? And if you really believe it, say it. If you don't believe it, don't say it. Either way works, And here's the thing, people just want honesty, integrity, and that's what those comments back to me say. Is, you've done this, you've done so much for so many. And that was never my intent either. It was another byproduct. It was great it happened. But my intent is to really harness this thing called LinkedIn and doing it in a systematic approach, in a way that people say, if I do something today, I should get something today. Right? If you turn the key right now, push the button in the car, you expect it to start.
Yeah.
Right? You go to the grocery store, you expect to get food for money. You go to LinkedIn, should be the same thing. When you invest, and it's usually time. And that's why I'm saying, how much can you get done with how many people in what shorter period of time, and then make it go.
Yeah.
Most people, when they do it, it stops when they stop. So, Gretchen, this could be, and that's the nice thing is it's nothing we thought of. It's nothing we did. LinkedIn's had tagging forever.
Yeah. Yep.
But they're not very good at teaching all of the capabilities one has. But you know what I also know in talking to Gretchen and Tara and Jenny and all these wonderful people is it all comes down to mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could talk strategies and I love strategy, but if a person's got their gate down,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or closed, nothing's going to happen. And that's
No.
really the mindset, the intention, the expectation.
Yep.
Do you know what kind of territory you're moving into? And this is what it's going to take to survive and succeed. And most people are they just plod along, they lean into this and they go over there and then they see another shining object or they find a person who somehow values them for nothing they do or who they are, but
Yep.
they accept it. And that's key. And you know, if you did it right, you'd do it more often, you'd have more fun. And when you're doing it more often and have more fun, eventually you'll start capitalizing on monetization of some sort. But it should be the result of what you do,
Yeah.
not the expectation of what you need.
Well, and I think too, it's whenever you go into, this is just my personal opinion, but whenever you go into any endeavor with an expectation of the outcome, you've already kind of predetermined you won't get there. You know, it's kind of like before I left corporate, you know, and started my business. One of the things I used to tell my team, because you know, I developed a department, content creative services, and it was a team of 24 at our largest. And one of the things I always told people is, if you know what you're working for one thing, but if everything you do is with an expectation of something on the other side, you're not focused on what you need to be focused on. You know, now I'm not saying don't have a future goal, a growth goal for yourself, right? Push goals, whatever you want to call them. That's one thing. But if you're saying, I'm only going to do this because I expect to be, you know, promoted, whatever, blah, 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 you know, on the other
Mhm.
side of this, then your focus is on the wrong thing. And it means that the quality of what you're going to do probably won't be there. And I know there are a lot of, you know, corners to get in there and gray areas to get in there, and a lot of, you know, caveats and conditional, you know, sort of things in there. But generally speaking, I think that's true. When you're focused on what your immediate goal is, what your thing is, right? What the project is, what you need out of that, everything else comes to you. And I think we mentioned this on the last live I did with you last Monday, which was, you know, focusing on what you need to focus on to move yourself into where you want to
Mhm.
ultimately be, and having the right mindset about it, and the positive growth, all that mindset, it absolutely will get you there. I never once had any conversation with any one of my bosses about promotions, raises, compensation, none of it. And I got a salary correction, a nice one, about 8 months into a very big job. Didn't even know that was a thing. Changed the way I thought about what was
Mhm.
possible. But it also was something that I wouldn't even have even known to look for. I was just doing my job and going, this needs to be done and that needs to be done, and let's plow into this. And it was noticed. You know, when I was promoted to marketing director, that was never a conversation I had with my boss ever, like not even one time. And when it was told to me that that was the decision that the corporation had made, you know, that he had suggested it and they had agreed, I was floored because I had never discussed it. But again, my focus was building the team and
Mhm.
developing everybody on the team to provide as much value as they could for themselves and for the company. And I think that really that also made me happy. So selfishly, that is what really motivated me, which is ultimately why I started my business, because developing people to move into and become what they're going to be, just it lights every socket I have. So, but again, as you said, those other things will find you. If your mindset is right, and you know what you're going for, and you know what you're working for, what you're doing, everything else absolutely finds you. Now, the challenge for a lot of people is they want to know on the calendar, when's it going to find me, and what's the amount it's going to find me at. Doesn't work that way. You might want it to, and yay for you, but it does not work that way. Never has, never will. You
Yeah,
know.
you know, you're absolutely right. And, you know, you always start with who you are. That's whatever you
Yeah.
get into, you start with who you are, and that's where you can either move from or stay at.
Hmm.
And the key is being honest and fair to yourself by asking beyond what can that person do for me?
Yeah.
Do I deserve what that person can do for me? Am I worthy or am I just needy? You know?
Good
And I
distinction.
Yeah, and the key is continue to build your worth while you're waiting for someone to recognize it. And if it's not being recognized, maybe the fire isn't built high enough
Yeah.
for people to see it. And just, it's easy to excuse failure if it was based on hard work, good thought, because then it becomes feedback. But anybody who complains something's not happening for them
Hmm.
needs to get into a mirror and really see, what are you doing? Add it up. How much did you spend today? What did you change today?
Yep.
How hard did you work today?
Yep.
And I guarantee you there's not a lot of hard workers on LinkedIn because of two things. First of all, there's not a lot of believers. People think it's a time suck, although it has some benefits, or it's a necessity because you have to be here and you have to have a profile in this new world. But the thing is the people who believe in themselves, kind of love themselves, and give themselves a lot of good confidence, do really well because they're not trying to make up for insecurities and inequities and carrying the past into the future,
Yeah.
with the woe is me stuff.
Yeah.
And then other people say, I know I'm not big enough or strong enough. So why not attach to a group
Hmm.
that has a lot of those strengths
Yeah.
that maybe I could focus on core competency
Hmm.
and then leverage with people who have all these other skill sets. And now I became part of a mosaic,
Yeah.
right?
It's exactly what I was saying earlier. So I reached out to Jenny because I knew she had a very specific skill set with something that I had no clue how to do, and I just was asked a favor. Can I just talk to you for like 10 minutes? We were on the phone for
Mhm.
like an hour, but because I knew she had a skill set that I needed. And the same with just untold number of things. So there are so many people on LinkedIn who are really experts in some way, and reaching out to them, just it helps develop you and grow what you know and your knowledge, and they're happy to share it. That's the other thing too, is you know the I think somebody said it was like the first rule of social connection, which is give right before you ask to get something. So give something, share what you know. If you've lived it, give it. If you know it, show it, right? Show it to other people, because there's going to be something in there that they need to know. I didn't know what the connection for tagging was, and now I do, and so does everybody else who's watching this. That's value for other people, and I think that I thought I saw somebody on a Zoom once kind of recoil a little bit when somebody said, how much value are you providing, because they felt like that was the wrong word, but it is the right word. When you're giving something, you're coming from a place of support and service. You're giving somebody something that they need, even if it's just a reassuring thought. You're helping them out with something. That's a good thing. That does
Mhm.
come back to you. you know Now, if you put stipulations on how, when, and where it comes back to you, you're going to set yourself up for a real disappointment. Just know that it does. Trust that it does, and it will. And it does. I mean, I'm I'm living proof of that. So, like, it does come back to you. But again, like you said, you really have to know your own motivations and your own mindset, and really your own end goal and everything. What is it that you're why are you out here? What are you here for? You know?
Mhm.
And it's sort of this, universal question, but it can go big and it can go really small. And the answer is still important on either level. What are you here for?
Yeah, well, you know what I'm thinking, to put it in proper context, giving is really qualifying.
Hmm.
And what it says is you'll find out what the response is. I mean, there's so many people who you go somewhere or they do something and you scratch your head and say, don't they have any sense? Don't they know what this looks like? I mean, those are the things, like people come to a party and forget to bring anything, or, I mean, or they bring the worst dish you could think of, or they leave an 89-cent price tag on yesterday's cupcakes, and you wonder. And on LinkedIn, if you give somebody something, the qualifier is how do they respond? When you tag people, are people going to be grateful? Are people going to be disappointed? Are people going to be silent? And all of a sudden they found their own group. These are the responders, these are the non-responders, and everybody in their own way is competing for attention. And for appreciation based on that attention, where, just like you said, people recognize you for what you do. If you're out there doing your stuff and doing it really well, and you don't have to look at the audience. The audience will find you, and they'll want to see more of you. And here's the thing: when you bring the most value, you have the most value. So right now, let's say this discovery of mine with the tagging, not discovery, but reformulation, right? They say nothing's ever been invented. It's all been discovered, right? It's always been here. So if you look at, LinkedIn and tagging, what you're really saying is, I appreciate you. Do you appreciate me appreciating you and recognizing you? And if you say, yes, it's going to further my appreciation. If you say no, then you've just said, I don't want to be at this level with you.
Yeah.
Right? It's like people say, I'll talk on the phone, but I'll never meet you, And it just says, well, that's where the ceiling is then.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's over. It just means I'm not going to expect anything more. But it's also going to say, when I find somebody who's open to more, I'm going to replace that person, right? Because you want the best people who want to be there with you. And here's the thing: if 50 out of 120 respond and I get 1,100 impressions instead of 200, if 100 out of 150 respond, that will go to 3,000 or 4,000. So right, you want the players, and here's how it works. I know we talked about a little bit earlier. If you tag 150 people, which I'm excited to do, I had it all prepared 6:30 this morning. I got all the people from yesterday, looked at my profile. I got all the people commented, liked, brought them into the gang. Is that within minutes, 150 people get notified that they just got tagged. They'll also see a LinkedIn Live that goes with it. And they'll also see a post with it, with then hashtags, right? They're going to respond within an hour, probably 30 or 40 of them. LinkedIn will see that. And all of a sudden, they'll start matching people in LinkedIn with the people who responded, thinking if those people responded, people like them will like this. And then all of a sudden, it could go viral. And people now look at this and say, hey, not only is there a LinkedIn Live show, there's a rocket ship with 150 tags to go with it. So if I get on it, right now, I'm getting all this exposure. It's not just knowledge share. And all of a sudden, maybe 1,000 people see me. And if 1/10 of 1% reach out and connect with me, which is only 10 or 100, and they're cool people from a standpoint of being, they're credible. They got things going on, they're not just, hoping to hope for something. And at the end of the day, you say, I like a cook, I put a recipe together. I combined a bunch of stuff, and boom, it took off. And you know what's so cool about it? When you hit the ATM machine code, it works every time. So if this works, as long as LinkedIn Live is still alive, and as long as tagging's available, and the caveat is, if you don't know anybody and nobody knows you, don't do any tagging until that happens. because
Yeah,
you'll
sorry.
get
Can't-
reported, you'll get blocked. I mean, everything bad can happen to you.
Yeah,
The reason I've done it is I've gotten to know everybody. Everybody I tag, I've had a conversation with,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
they know me, and all they got to do, and it happened, I think, twice in a year and a half, and it always came back. Just to be fair, I'm going to be really busy, or I'm taking off of LinkedIn for a month or two, so don't feel you should tag me.
yeah,
But I've never got anybody say, don't ever do that again. And no
yeah,
one has to, right?
yeah.
Because
Well, it's interesting because a couple of the people that I know who do tag shame people have never complained when I've tagged them. Never complained. So, I think that to your point, know who you're tagging, and do it intentionally, like we talked about in the beginning of this live. Do it intentionally. Have a reason for it, not just blind tagging because that's
Mhm.
not going to work. And it's probably going to piss more than just
Oh
LinkedIn
yeah.
off doing that,
Mhm.
because then it begs the question, well, why? I don't know you. I'm not sure
Yeah, it's
what
like
you're doing
trickery
here.
almost.
It is, and it just smacks of everything wrong. And so, but when you know who you're tagging, you know why you're tagging them, like we talked about, a few minutes ago, because you've got something that they'd be interested in based on what you know about them, or content that you share a common interest or something like that. I think that's absolutely appropriate, and I also think that it's in a way fundamental to operating on this platform on LinkedIn. Again, it's a platform built on social connection, intentional social connection, and there's we need that. I mean, it's one of the it's like part of Maslow's hierarchy, that sense of belonging. We psychologically we need it. It's not just a thing, a nice to have. We actually, it's a must have. It's a must have. It's right in the middle there, right in the middle of that pyramid. So it's important, and it serves a need greater than, like, on the vanity level. It's a fundamental need that we have, and so I think that it's important to look at it from that perspective as well, so that nobody is operating in a vacuum. Nobody has to. Nobody should.
Mhm.
Especially when it comes to this. So yeah, if you've got a great event, tag people who would like to go there, because they may not know about it otherwise, and if you know somebody who is a supporter of what you do, who may not be new on that, or may not be so aware of what that is, but they might learn something from it. I think that's also really, really relevant
Mhm.
to do. And I appreciate it when people do that, because I see something, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. I've been wanting to know about that. And I probably wrote or commented on their post about it, which is why they tagged me. Smart. It's strategically, it's smart. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like I say, if you do it well, strategically, and you do it in a way that's supportive, I think a couple takeaways, because again, one has to realize where everybody is at what level.
Hmm.
If you want to start tagging, start small. You don't do 150, do 5, do 10.
Yeah.
Work with people, and a good clue is who is getting tagged, because
Hmm.
whoever is getting tagged is going for the tagging.
Yeah.
So why don't you go to other people's posts, and it takes time to build a quality network, and nothing's going to happen overnight, so take
Yeah.
your time. And the other element is you can always get permission.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure, just send them a message saying, "Hey, I'm going to start tagging people. I really admire you, or whatever. Would you be okay with me tagging you?" So now
Yeah.
you don't have that. Well, how am I going to look? Is that person
Right.
going to feel imposing? And really, to be honest, when I stopped tagging, I stopped looking at my notifications, which meant anybody who tagged me, I was never going to see.
Hmm.
And the message was, I'm not into tagging or receiving, but it's okay if you tag me. I
Yeah.
just know that nothing's going to happen in return. And if there's value in pure association,
Yeah.
or there's value in just intention of recognizing and promoting somebody without anybody getting,
Yeah.
caught up in it. But yeah, I think the thing is look at my post last week or two, look at everything I do, copy it in the best way possible, and knowing that you're doing it to help somebody, not to help yourself.
Hmm.
And that's the
Yeah.
key. If it's given in the right way, it'll be accepted the right way. And, it's one more thing you could start building on. It's like, having multiple locations. If you're building something here and you've got some time, build your tagging into it, build
Yeah.
your polling into it. I mean, I
Yeah.
poll heavily and really leverage that to great benefit. And, it's almost like when you go to LinkedIn, they give you a toolbox, but they don't explain every tool and they don't definitely show you how to use it. But you're
Yeah.
sitting there and you just say, okay, what do I want to take out and start to apply? And then when you get good at it, you say, well, what else is in here?
Hmm.
Or how do you add two things to one to make it whatever?
Yep.
But that's, I think Gretchen's there and I'm there, and I know a lot of other people there to coach, to
Yeah.
share, to help you. I mean,
Yep.
there's so many people who, if you can't do it, the question, could we do it together?
That is so, and I was just talking to somebody earlier about this, and I've mentioned it to several people. But I have a spreadsheet that's a referral network that I use, and I've shared it with a bunch of people. But every time I meet somebody who is like, they know something, they know they're a subject matter expert in something. I add them to my spreadsheet, and it's tabbed out by like industry or specialty or any of those kind of things. But because I need help. Everybody needs help with something. And a lot of people will come to me for certain types of coaching that I don't do and I'm not qualified to do. But I know people who are. So like, you know, relationship coaching. That's not something that I do, and I would be way out of my element to try it, although I have been married for 28 years. So maybe I'm an expert, but not in that way. So I can't do that, but I love to refer people out to those who I know are really good at that, right? And have a good reputation. So I probably got like 500 or so people now on this spreadsheet. And I love to do that because, like you said, there's somebody out there who's got really great input, experience, expertise, something in an area that other people need to know about. Share that person, share those people with as
Mhm.
much as you can, because there's someone out there who needs them. I did a video a couple months ago. There's a coach, she's a mind body coach that I know, Yulia Bogdanova, and she we were having a Zoom, and she just looked at me and said, your breathing is wrong. And I'm like, what
Mhm.
do you mean my breathing is wrong? I've been breathing all of my 53 years. What's wrong with it? And she mentioned that I had shallow breathing. She could tell because my shoulders were lifting when I was breathing. Meaning I'm breathing from the top of my lungs, not my diaphragm, where I
Mhm.
should be breathing from. And she took me through an exercise right then and there that absolutely changed the way I thought about the
Wow.
way I breathe. And again, I've been doing breathing my whole life, but wrong. And I was like, you need to show people this. Like, this is amazing stuff.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of, that to me is one of the powers of the live video format is you can take people through something real time and actually give them real value on the spot and teach them something. You're making their life better in some way. Now that sounds grandiose when people say it, and there are a lot of people like, oh, making their life better. No, yeah, you actually are. And
Mhm.
that's a great thing. So celebrate that. And I did a video about it because I was so blown away by how in 5 minutes she was able to identify something and then stop the conversation and take me through an exercise that all these months later I still practice, and hopefully I'll practice it forever. That is really good. That's again the power of that expertise. So when people are out there and you're getting to know them, and you said it before, Donald, you said building a quality network, you know, not just blind connections and all that, but a quality network of people that know about things or know about something you want to know or share a common interest, or there's some kind of unifying thread there. But there's also so much opportunity when there is, and it becomes not a numbers game. It becomes like, a connection, a real human connection, situation. And I think that it makes so much difference. Yeah. And I've done that. I've met so many really cool people that way, just by making a connection, kind of getting to their content, or something will come across my feed and it'll just be like, that is riotously funny. I need to know this person. Like, it might be a one and done, but then you kind of get to know people and you're like, wow, they really like that. What they're doing is great. I want to know more about it. I want to be a part of that, you know? And again, that's all good. There's nothing wrong with that. I would tag that person 9 ways to Sunday every day in between. Yep.
Yeah, and I think people are more concerned with what they have to do than just doing it.
Yeah.
Right? They're almost looking for reasons not to do things after they thought of things to do. So they spend half their time thinking I should do this, and then spend another half of time saying I shouldn't do it. And any time anywhere else would have been better spent than digging a hole and filling it.
Yeah.
So, but I know we always cover a lot of bases, and this has been another great LinkedIn Live. Hopefully everybody in the audience who has seen it and will see it after this, hopefully after all those tags, I can't wait. It's almost like a little kid mixing chemistry set and see if something will blow up.
Yeah.
And look forward to more Gretchen LinkedIn Lives. Hopefully this was valuable. Feel free to reach out to Gretchen or myself, and feel free to share the video and to look at the post, and maybe if you want, get on the tag list. Actually, in the post, I actually have, like, at the bottom, if you want to be tagged, share and message, if you want to be on the LinkedIn Live show. So, trying to get as inclusive, as interactive, kind of set the example, get out of yourself, get into something bigger than yourself with more people than yourself. And, at the end of the day, challenge yourself to be bigger, better, faster, and more valuable to yourself and everybody around. Keep building your own value while you're waiting for people to identify it.
Yes.
And eventually you'll find you may never need anybody.
Yeah.
You could get so valuable and strong that you're not reaching out for help. People are reaching out to you to participate in what you're doing.
Yeah, they just want to be part of whatever it is that you're doing, because it's, absolutely. I mean, it's, it's one of the reasons why I participate in anything, is because I want to be a part of that. There's something really cool about it. And I'm like, me over here.
Well, Kate, you have a good smile and laugh a lot too. So add those two ingredients. So with that, we'll sign off. Look forward to being with you again, and feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for participating. Bye for now.